Hey guys, this is me Avidivedi and you are listening on Extended Reality Developers of India community. And the day is awesome because this is the 50th episode of XR podcast. Yes, we have completed 50 of these. So today, to make the day more special, we have none other than Pankaj Raut with us. And Pankaj is the co-founder and CEO of Dimension NXT, and their product is basically AjnaLens. So we are going to dive deep into this mixed reality headset, which comes from India. So without any further delay, let me invite Mr. Pankaj. So hello Pankaj, how are you doing?
I'm very good. Hi, Avi.
I'm doing really well, and so would love to discuss something about you. And there are a lot of viewers who would love to know more about you. So I request a small introduction of yours.
Got it. So the first introduction is yes, I am the co-founder and CEO of AjnaLens. So we are registered as a company called Dimension NXG Limited, but we work under the brand name AjnaLens. I've always been interested in technology since early childhood. So I was one of those guys who was very fascinated by Bond movies, try to take technology, open up toys and reverse engineer them, try to make better toys.
Yep.
So I was very fascinated by Bond movies. I always knew that I wanted to get into technology. I had a vision, or I always had an intense desire to have a positive impact on society. And I felt that technology is one of those tools with which I could do it. And that's how I got into augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, the entire extended reality spectrum. I feel this is one of those tools that can have a huge impact on the society.
For sure, for sure. So, to begin with, my first question to you is gonna be about that. How did you find your interest in hardware manufacturing, especially in virtual reality and augmented reality field? So, how did it started? Usually, Indian companies start with softwares. We are very good with that. How did you took this challenging task of creating the whole hardware by yourself in house?
To get back, so to answer that question, I would have to go back slightly before even we touched hardware, right? As I was just mentioning, technology was something I felt was really impactful on, and I felt that will have a huge impact on human lives. So if you think about the entire human civilization, we have used various tools to evolve, right? From axe, like a cycle, a pickaxe, a knife, everything. Each tool had an impact on human civilization in two ways. One, the rate at which the civilization grew, and then the direction of the civilization as well. The other two co-founders, Abhijit Patil and Abhishek Tomar, all three of us felt that the tool that had the highest impact on human civilization was computers. Computers, right from your communication to medical to each and every aspect of human life, computers had a huge impact on human society. Computers themselves have evolved right from the mainframes to desktops to laptops to mobile phones where we are doing a lot of our current computing.
Yep.
But so far, computers were always on a 2D platform. We were very restricted to a 2D screen, and that's when we recognized that augmented reality, mixed reality, is the next generation of computing, wherein the digital content is moving from a 2D screen to the 3D world. That drastically increases the kind of impact computers, the most powerful tool we humans have, to the next level. So think about communication. Once this technologies become as common as an everyday tool, we would not be having a 2D call, we would be having a holographic 3D kind of a call, right? So that is wherein I recognize, the co-founders recognize this will have a huge impact. So we decided we want to get into it. But when we started this, we were in mid 2014. That time AR, VR, MR was not very popular. So you would have to explain what AR is, what VR is, what MR is back then. Even HoloLens was just, I think, a concept. It was probably not launched or somewhere in mid launch or something like that. So that's when we recognize, okay, if we want to create the next generation of computing, we have to do it from scratch. We can't just work on the software, the OS or application layer. We need to create the hardware because there is not existing hardware that could solve that issue. So that's when we started with the hardware. We decided that this is something that we want to get into, the OS layer and then the application layer for the devices.
So you mentioned several layers, you mentioned hardware, you mentioned a lot of things. So to start with, you told me about this motivation that it comes from very human perspective and how human develop these sort of tools. So this mixed reality tool is all about spatial computing. How you think in upcoming era this spatial computing is going to change the way we compute right now? I mean, right now we have these devices which we call cell phone. We are almost a cyborg with them. We are getting information updated at the fraction of a second from all around the world. We are getting updated. So how is this spatial computing, what is your opinion on that, that how it's going to change the perspectives and the very life around us?
I think going forward, spatial computing will be that technology which is, if you had to compare it, will become like electricity, invisible, but it
Yep.
is still there, right? So this glasses, if becomes generic, everybody is wearing them, and then as on for your requirement, you'd use it. Let's say in a kitchen, you look at a refrigerator, you get all the information that's required for that refrigerator. You're walking into your garage and you are seeing the car, you understand what is the petrol level, what is any other battery levels, anything that is really required then. So that is wherein I think going forward, mixed reality or spatial computing will become very, very generic, very, very public. It will just help you enhance and get you real time information, which is then required to do that specific task.
For sure, for sure. Would love to know about some of the targeted applications. So, where you think this Ajna lens is going to be most useful? I've heard that you're working with military, you are working with several great applications or several great places with this technologies. You have several vendors as well. So, would love to know that where you are, where is the what is the potential target of for this devices?
Got it. So if you divide it, how we see it is right now, it is divided into two or three main phases. The first, very early adopters would be the defense, because therein you can have a clear impact. Cost doesn't become an issue. The form factor is not a big issue. So defense will be the very, very early adopter. That's when we have been working with the Indian Army, Navy, DRDO. It's not just training use cases, but on-field use cases where we have deployed this and had a huge impact. So we have been able to save a lot of cost, lot of time, lot of errors, while also having giving a lot of value advantages which is required on field, like giving extra information which is really critical during that activity on field, right? So first early adopters, I feel, and what we've experienced based on our past experience has been defense. Going forward, second adapters for this, which is starting this year, going into mid of next year to end of next year, is the enterprise use cases, wherein still the cost of the devices is a bit higher. The form factor is a bit bulkier. It's not as comfortable as it can become a consumer product. So enterprises wherein there are real-time impacts, which for a manager or a enterprise user, you see a real-time ROI within the 3 to 6 months period of time. You are saving a lot of cost, you are saving a lot of time, you're decreasing a lot of errors, or you are helping them increase sales or revenue, right? So that
For
is where
sure.
the adoption will be very high. So the next 2 years will be for the enterprise, and going forward post that, once Apple and the Googles of the world start releasing the consumer edition of the devices, it will then go into an rapid uptake within the consumer space.
Totally get it. So, would love to know about the challenges and especially in optics and AI research. So, to develop this kind of mixed reality technology, optics is the major part. I mean, you have to deal with a lot of way how to render images on top of real world. For that, you also require a lot of spatial understanding, that what is the scene around you, how much lighting is there, how's everything going on right there. So would love to know some of the details, obviously, which you can tell due to a lot of reasons. So would love to know what how challenging it was, and doing that since 2014, when nobody was almost doing this. So how challenging was it?
Optics was a huge challenge. The fundamental concept is very simple in terms of having an ability to have glass which you can see through, and then have putting in digital images, so it becomes a part of your reality. but getting that, achieving it was a huge task in terms of very complex, because there's not right infrastructure available specifically within India, wherein you have the right kind of optics that you could experiment with rapidly enough, faster enough, at the right cost. So it was a huge challenge when we started with just opening up displays of smartphones, putting up mirrors and putting up some reflecting devices on the base side, and trying to bring augmented reality. We figured out a lot of challenges. uh, Even if you bring content onto your field of view, it still is not really an immersive AR experience, because you'll still see a 2D content which is floating in there. You need to make it 3D, so there has to be perspective, which was a big challenge that we would have to solve. And thirdly is the spatial understanding, so that it can be rigged to a location, it can be picked, it can be attached to a location, so if you move around it, you will feel as if it's a part of your environment. So multiple challenges we've been able to experiment, we've been able to get a lot of assistance from a lot of our vendors, and thus we've been able to solve it. So if you see, I'll share this images later on, which you can, I think, put on this video as well. Is early on the device was this big, it was very heavy, there were a lot of wires, about 5 to 6 wires coming up. One was for the battery, one was for the display, one was for multiple things. And we did investor demos with something this big, and we
Wow.
were then showing them the concept that they will become this small. um, Over the next few months, we are going to release a series of glasses called AjnaX. You will see the form factor has drastically reduced from something this was that big to something which is very easy to wear and less than about 100 grams. So the journey has been very interesting.
Amazing, amazing. So, picking a headset which was huge and reducing the size, and this is exactly this kind of optimization is really the hardest part of any technological development of any technology we see right now. So, would love to talk about. And at the back, when we are talking about eras like 2014, when people don't really, it was even before Pokemon Go. So nobody totally understand what is augmented reality or virtual reality. Getting an investment, how hard it was, especially in India. I'm sure a lot of rejections you might have faced. A lot of people you might told you that don't invest in hardware or something like that. It is very challenging. It's still people told me as well that never invest in hardware or something like that. In India, it's very hard to build hardware, things like that. So would love to know what was the challenges in collecting the funds and powering this big company. So would love to know about that as well.
So challenges did not really start on the fundraise side, right? We ourselves wanted to be very confident that okay, this is something that we could execute.
Hmm.
We had to build that internal confidence. That is wherein my co-founder Abhijit Patil, he is a ex IIT Bombay alumnus who has done production engineering. He has done a lot of innovation within the hardware space, the production space. He has done. He was on. He has worked on BrahMos missile. So that is wherein we got a lot of confidence that okay, on the hardware side we have the right
Yeah.
team member, we have the right co-founder who has a lot of experience, right? And on the software side, Abhishek Tomar, who is the CTO and the co-founder, he had a strong expertise within the VFX. So one of his largest stints was at Red Chillies, wherein essentially he was taking care of the VFX part, leading a team of around 200 people there. Uh, the idea there was to bring in VFX onto real time shoots, right? Which is essentially augmented reality, which is done real time and post shoot as well. So we then recognize, okay, we have this software understanding, and then based on that, we built an internal confidence. Okay, this is something that we can go ahead with, and we started creating early prototypes. Back then, we did not have money. All three of us had left our jobs. We wanted to sustain ourselves, so we started doing a bit of 3D printing jobs here and there to just keep the money flowing, and so that we can put the money not just for not for our salaries, but then the experimentation, buying the equipments that was ready. And we started pitching to investors. One of the biggest challenges back then was making them understand what AR, VR, MR was. Uh, the first instant of an investor who would look at something like this was, ये gaming के लिए अच्छा है. It's it might not have as much real-time impact on human life as you are saying, right? We started with the vision, okay, this is what we want to have, but then everyone was there. Second challenge within India being a tech IT driven industry, IT service driven industry, uh, we have investors who are very, very comfortable with software. We have seen Indian startups doing very, very good within the software space, but we don't have so far large companies who have started scratch from hardware, that to deep tech, and have done really big. So that was a sense, there was a risk averseness between the investors as well. But fortunately enough, we were lucky enough to have investors such as Vijay Shekhar Sharma from PTM, who felt, okay, this is something which is visionary and we need to take on bets on something like this. Otherwise, there will not be companies within India that have this hardware space who can become an light for other companies to get into hardware, right? So, but taking that kind of a bet, we got Japan Vyas, who has invested. He was one of those early mentors, investors who helped us really think through the technology, think through the business, think through the entire investment model, and really raise funds. We've got the Kimchi Group of Oman. So we've been lucky enough to have investors who were visionary like us, who saw this big heavy devices and understood, okay, there is the potential of something like this to come into a small form factor. So yes, it was tough, it was challenging. We got a lot and lot of rejections, but we were fortunate enough to it's like once you get those rejections, you go back, you think through stuff, are we doing the right thing? So it gave us a lot of pressure to crystallize, to make our business plans better, to make our product pipelines better. So I think I'm very thankful, or both the other three co-founders are thankful, that we got a lot of these rejections, so that it was not just vision driven, it was also driven by proper business model, it was driven by proper product pipeline as well.
Awesome. So you totally मतलब आपने सीरियसली बता दिया कि किस तरीके से आपको बिजनेस मॉडल पे भी ध्यान देना होता है, बिकॉज the similar kind of conversation we had with a very experienced game developer. And usually in game development we start with the very notion of passion and everything, but he said whenever you are planning a game, first figure out the business model and then start working on that. So this is something similar which you also told, that it was vision driven, but also it was the business model were correct, and that's why everybody was interested to invest in. Also, what I came to know about that, the team was very important. So team behind whatever you have built, the technical team, the person who worked behind optics, the person who worked behind the OS, so all these people were very, very key for this. First, how to find such kind of team, and how did you find such kind of team, and how to sustain such kind of talented people, because they have no limitation of opportunities in the world, they have everything in the world and everybody wants them. So what is your opinion about that, and how did you manage that?
Got it. I feel today it is a slightly easier take for people to join a startup. But back then, when 2014 startups and the startup culture was just booming in, people did not really knew what startups were. Like if you go to a parent and you tell, I'm going to join a startup, ek to what a startup is, and once they recognize a startup is a small company that has huge potential, but then you'll not get the salary that you are expecting. You don't have that comfort level of having salary every month coming in for sure. Uh, People were very, very risk averse then as well. Even parents, students, who team members who were looking to join. But fortunately enough, we we kept on following up with people to show them the huge potential within India. I see there is a huge talent, which is very passion driven as well. Anything and everything that we've been able to achieve so far was because of these people, these team members who have joined us. We are currently hiring as well. We are looking for people to join us full time to take this mission forward. One is a tough task. It requires a lot of time, energy, effort, hustle that needs to go into it, so that we become a part of a success story. Uh, so to answer your question, one thing we did was we helped them see what our vision was. We helped them understand. We helped them figure out, okay, if we put our energy, time, efforts in this, take this bet, And if it turns out into something successful, it's not just success for us, it is success for the entire ecosystem, wherein then the confidence, let's say for the investors, for other co-founders, other team members, other employees who are joining, increases, because okay, there is a success story from India that has been able to do it. So it's not just that. Secondly is we figured out their individual aspiration. As human beings, we all have our individual aspirations in terms of what we want to achieve in life, what kind of work we want to do it, and we figured out, does it align with the kind of work and the kind of company we want to build in. So for sometimes we figured out, okay, the individual is interested, he's ready to join, he has the right talent, but his aspiration is quite different than what our aspiration as a company was. So that is wherein we were very clear upfront with him, okay, if we join, but these are the challenges that we'll face. After a period of time, you will have different aspirations, the company aspirations are different, the team, the culture we are building is different. So we tried to figure out people who had similar kind of aspiration, who wanted to do something out of their life, wanted to become a success story, wanted to be a part of something which is different. So that is wherein we were able to get those peoples as well.
Awesome. So from our YouTube comments, Asad Ehsan has asked that at what point you felt that you made it?
So far, no, we haven't felt that we've made it. It is a long journey. I think we are in the direction towards making it. But
Hmm.
on a daily basis, I am grateful to have this opportunity, grateful to have the right co-founders, the right team members who are helping us in this journey. Uh, but I think it's still a long way ahead, wherein AjnaLens becomes a huge success, and we go forward.
Awesome. So you created AjnaLens, you created the whole architecture, you've managed the fundings, you created the hardware, everything is there. But still, to for a product to run, for a mobile phone to run, they require a complete ecosystem of applications, of firmware, OS applications, and service providers. So how these things work for you, and how you are planning to get content creators on this platform? So what is the plan?
Got it. So plan so far was, because we were defense oriented, we would had to do it from the hardware, the software, the OS, the application level
Yeah.
internally in house. Going forward, we are getting into enterprise. What we have done is we have started speaking to content creators who want to get into enterprise, who want to deploy XR within the enterprise space. We've started doing partnerships there. Many of these content players already have some customers that they can go ahead with. They majority of the content players have deployed some or the other use case with VR with the enterprise customers. Now they have an addition to provide an augmented reality or a mixed reality kind of a device for their end customers. So that is when we have started partnering up with some of these content players. We'll start opening up our own SDK publicly for other content players to jump into the device, understand it, deploy it across their solution.
For sure, for sure. So Priyanshu asks, will AjnaLens have their own app store?
Once we get into the enterprise customer, and which is another 3 to 4 years, sorry, once we get into consumer space, which
Consumer
is
space,
another
yeah.
3 to 4 years from today, we will explore having our own store.
For sure. So, in your would love to discuss some of the future plans of the company. We have reached so far. So, what are, in your case, what are the future plans for the company? Once you already said, once you will reach the consumer space, you will get the app stores kind of thing, where other content creator could also contribute directly without connecting to you in person, right? So, yeah, would love to know about that.
Um, So I'll share with you the vision-driven future plan of the company in terms of if you think any tool can be a good or a bad tool, like a knife could be a good or a bad tool. Uh,
Yep.
we wanted to be very conscious about the tool that we are developing here. We wanted to have something which will have a positive impact on society. So once it goes to a consumer end, our vision is anyone who is wearing this tool, his life improves. Life
Hmm.
improves in multiple aspects. Is It's like वो golden touch आता है ना life में. So that kind of a golden touch Ajna lens or Ajna lens devices plays into that person's age. It is one improving his cognition, his thought process, his mindset. So there are applications into that devices that really help him. Not just the application, but on the OS level as well. Wherein, let's say, if I activate a feature within the glasses which is tracking my food habits on a daily basis, instead of me not taking my phone out and logging every information, it's just logging information and says, okay, by the end of the day, you have had so much acidic food throughout the day, which is what is causing the anger within you, which is what is causing all of these challenges that you will go and face forward. So these are the things that you need to change on your lifestyle so that you will have a much happier life, right? So helping them improve their health, their wealth, their state of happiness is what we want to move towards on a longer vision. We have tracked down with vision. You also require the practicalities, the daily runways, the cash flows that need to flow in. So we've tracked down from defense is where we are majority focusing right now. We'll get into the enterprise, and over a period of time we'll get into the consumer end, which will have a much broader impact.
Awesome. So yeah, you will be entering in the personalized healthcare sector, something like that.
Not just personalized well-being, I would say
Well-being
on a longer vision.
on
Yes.
a longer period in a personalized well-being, and yeah, it makes sense. So would love to know your message for the entrepreneurs who are watching right now, who you just made us up, gave us a point that everything is possible because you built something which was considered impossible in India. So a lot of great people also feel that creating a hardware product from India from scratch, it's almost impossible. So you prove them wrong. So would love to know what are your message for entrepreneurs of tomorrow.
I, my one philosophy has always been to understand the why behind everything and anything you do. So you are an aspiring entrepreneur. You need to figure out why you want to become an entrepreneur. Why do you want to start it? Is it because there could be two things ideally which I categorize the why into. You want to have something of your own so that you don't work for someone. You don't. You have your own freedom, you have your own time, you do something. So that is usually one of the broader umbrellas under which majority of the answers fall. And then second is wherein it's more of a passion driven, kuch karke dikhana hai. I believe this technology is going to have a huge impact. I believe this solution will have a huge impact on society, and I would do anything to do that. So if you fall in the first category wherein you want to have your own time, you don't want to work for something, I think entrepreneurship is something that you should not get into. Specifically startup based entrepreneurs. There are other types of entrepreneurs wherein you have digital businesses, online things wherein you have your time, you get to work for yourself. Get into that kind of business. Don't get into the hardware business or don't get into the startup kind of a business wherein you're doing everything from scratch.
From
Because
scratch.
if you are into this, you're working for everyone. You're working for your customer, you're working for your team members, you're working for your board members, you're working for yourself. You have to put in about 12 to 14 hours of daily work so that it even takes some shape. From that shape to even slightly grow, you would have to put more time. To then to make it success is a lot of work. To sustain that kind of work as a human being, you require a strong motivation which needs to be something कि हाँ ये change करेगा, ये दुनिया change करेगा. That needs to be always there. So if you're in the second category, I would recommend that you have a vision for a product, a solution, something that will have impact, you get into it. But if you're in the first category, you look at alternative kind of opportunities, could be an online e-commerce business, any other business, so that जो मन में है जो इच्छा है वो करेक्टली फिल अप हो जाए. You don't get into a startup and then you're struggling.
Totally correct advice. I could so much relate to that. Uh, Prabhav Sharma on YouTube asked that in what way Army is using your device. So I'm not sure which part of this question you can answer. So yeah.
So yes, One thing we had to take a lot of care was the confidentiality in
Yeah.
terms of look out for our website as well. There's not a lot of information that we've been able to put in because of the kind of work that we do in.
Hmm.
But something which was very public is we were selected as one of those companies under Ministry of Defense IDEX scheme,
Hmm.
wherein we are helping Indian Army upgrade their tanks. So one of the biggest challenges with tanks, if you think about tank, it is one of the most powerful unit on a battlefield. It
Yep.
is very rugged. It is very strong. Its firepower is also very powerful. But
Hmm.
one of the biggest weakness of a tank is the situational awareness, understanding what is around you, because you have a very small periscopic field of view. Uh, that creates a huge challenge in battlefield. That is like making you uh, uh, giving you a disadvantage on battlefield. So that is
Hmm.
wherein we created a system wherein there are multiple camera systems which sit around the tank, stitch it into a 360 camera, 360 image, and stream it into the person who is wearing our glasses inside.
Hmm.
So when he sees through the tank, it looks as if he's seeing through the tank. It looks as if he has an X-ray vision. It's not
Wow.
just at this level we stop, we then put artificial intelligence onto it, so wherein you can understand a friend, a foe, the type of vehicle systems, other things within the environment as well. So this is the problem statement, that one of the problem statements that we are solving for the Indian Army.
Wow. So with tanks, you have all the power, but your field of view is 5 degree. So you are solving that problem for the army.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So would love to know how was the COVID situation for AjnaLens. So a lot of hardware companies face problems because the manufacturing and the delivery process is got really affected during the COVID situation. So what was the case for your team? How hard it was, or do you also find some benefits because of awareness and education? So what was your take?
COVID was a huge had a huge impact on AjnaLens. It was a negative impact and a positive impact both. One thing I am very grateful for was the team that stuck around with us. We had to reduce salaries for a period of time, which we were able to give back over a period of time as well. But understanding as a startup, these are some of the challenges that you would have to face. To increase your runway, you would have to decrease salaries for a period of time, whether you then give it back later, but you'd have to do that, understanding that many of the customers, so we launched Ajna Lite, which was just before COVID happened, and our end users for this were colleges, with education institute, and all of them shut down. All of customers, we've signed more than 33 plus MOUs with these institutes, wherein
Hmm.
we were going to deploy thousands of these glasses, but the entire thing shut down. All the college, schools, institutes, everybody shut down. So we faced a huge backtrack on that space, in terms of we had a vision, we had created a device, we've gone through the entire development, we've had the customers, we've figured out the problem solution, we had figured out the product market fit, and then COVID-19 hit. So that drastically had a huge impact on the sales, the projections that we had thought forward. But the other positive side that we had during COVID-19 was it helped us further crystallized in terms of what is the direction as a company that we want to get into. How can we become um a lean company wherein we are very narrow, we are very focused, and we are doing things that is having a positive ROI for the company. To have a positive ROI for the company, we need to have a positive ROI for the end customer. So
Oh,
we
sure.
need to put a lot of our thought, a lot of our energies into figuring out what are the key pain points, key problem statements for the customer, for which the customer is willing to pay us, and then start working towards it, so that we'll have a positive impact on the company. We usually divide it into three main things, right? When we talk to a customer, whether is it a candy, whether is it a vitamin, or whether it is a painkiller. For a
Interesting.
candy, you need to sell it to a customer, you need to sell it, you need to talk about the candy, you need to tell the how sweet it is, how good it is. For a vitamin, there is a bit of selling, there is a sense of customer, okay, this is something which will have a positive impact on me for a longer range, but you would need to spend a lot of your time convincing him that okay, vitamins is something that you would require. But for a painkiller, a customer has a huge burning problem right now. He's just looking for a solution at the right price. So we
Hmm.
then started focusing on painkillers as a company. So getting this kind of, I think, thought, wisdom was something which only came due to COVID-19.
This is totally unique. The candy, vitamin, and painkiller is the totally unique terminology, and I love this. Would love to know about what you think about collaboration in work with the power of mixed reality, which was also the topic of today's discussion, but we are touching it on last. So recently, there's Microsoft Mesh released their co-working space.
Yes.
Similarly, we have seen a lot of other competitors on virtual reality, like Spatial is there, and there are plenty of these competitors coming up in 2020 because everybody is working from home. So virtual reality is the best way to do that. So yeah, would love to know about your vision on virtual reality co-working spaces and how you see this and how you are planning for this.
Got it. Due to COVID, many companies have moved to work from home or remove work from remote areas, work from anywhere kind of a space. And in things like this, one of the biggest challenge becomes is building the right culture within the company. The communication is still sorted. You have tools such as Slack, Asana, and everything,
Hmm.
but having the right culture, having the right communication, the right rapport within the team members is a huge challenge, which probably is not really well solved with a video call. That is wherein I feel that the kind of collaboration that you can bring in using digital teleportation, holographic communication is huge. So there is a huge potential for something like this, not just for the team building, but then later it could be used for, let's say, product design, where
Hmm.
multiple people from multiple locations can come sit on a single hologram, understand it, develop the product. It could be used for remote holographic sales kind of meetings, wherein a customer is just sitting at his home, you ship him these glasses and you bring in digital content in front of him, whether it be remodeling his house, whether it be selling a car, whether it be some product that you're custom developing it for him, and then present it in a holographic form as if the customer sees, I have the engine, the work that you we are working on together, and the person who you're talking to. So it brings a lot of human element back into the entire communication. So that's when a lot of these companies are getting into this. There is a Going forward, there is enough space for multiple companies to be here, such as we have the Skypes, the Zooms, the Hangouts of the world still functioning independently. So multiple companies can still work in the space because this is going to be a big space.
Amazing, amazing, for sure. Totally agree with that. On YouTube, Govind is asking that do you provide internship program for learners?
Yes, we do provide a lot of
Is yeah.
internship program in something specific. You can just drop an email at hello@ajnalens.com.
Sorry for a few seconds. Call was dropped.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Can you repeat that? Yeah.
Yes. So if you go on our LinkedIn page, there are a lot of openings that we post there. But you don't see an opening for the skill set that you have or something that you're interested in. We are more than happy to always have interns who have something that they can bring to the table and something that we would like to explore. So you can just drop your CV. You need to sell us or tell us where you can add value to the company. So you drop an email to us at hello@asnalens.com.
I hope you got your answer, Govind. So, thanks for all answering all these queries. And there are so many people. Thanks for being patient so long. And yeah, it was great interviewing you. You are just very polite person, and we learned a lot of things today with you. So thanks for giving us your this graceful time, and we enjoyed and learned so many things. Yeah. So finally, if you have some message for viewers who are listening us, who somehow don't understand correctly the very importance of mixed reality or virtual reality right now, and do you think are they going to lag behind because of adopting the technology later? Is the inevitable future for sure? So what is your opinion on this? What is your message to the people who are lacking behind?
I'm I think we live in a very hyper connected world. So
Yeah,
people who are even lacking behind, they'll see so many videos, so many posts, so many things that are happening, and people using technology, it will be an internal desire for them based on all this bombarding that will happen through the social media, that they will get into it. So I think they don't have much to worry.
yeah.
It's just the nature, the course will take over.
Of course, and what I used to suggest these people that it's not about that to learn mixed reality or virtual reality. You have to be a very technical person. You just have to know how to. You just have to know that how to use these technologies. Like similarly, like the way you use your mobile phone, you can quickly learn to adopt to these technologies and used to learn in your own whatever the way, whatever the art you have, you can blend it with them as well. So it's very easy to pick up with mixed reality, virtual reality, or virtual production, things like that. So keep yourself updated. So thanks for coming. We enjoyed a lot of things. So Pankaj, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast, and I hope we'll connect back soon and we'll talk a lot of things again someday.
Thank you, Avi. It was a pleasure being on the show as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone for being on the podcast. This is me, Avi Dwivedi, signing off. See you next week, guys.